Olympus top board begins. Bradley adds to wins. And for the new cards, grins. I'm David Hood, and this is Deadline, DBN's monthly news program. Deadline May 2026. For our feature story, one of the coolest aspects of last year's World Dipcon in San Francisco was the release and distribution there by Justin Loar of the first edition of our Hobbies Diplomacy trading cards. Featuring artwork from the hobby's unofficial artist-in-chief, Lady Razor, the cards also gave statistical information about the player on each card and provided loads of fun at the event as well as afterwards, as everyone traded to compile their decks of favorite hobby personalities. The second edition cards have just been produced and were recently debuted at World Dipcon in Greece. Later in this program, we'll talk to Justin about how these second edition cards differ from last year's product, as well as discussing a number of other topics. But first, a look at headlines from around the world of diplomacy. That 2026 World Dipcon near Athens, Greece, has just finished, with DBN personality and British player Michalis Kamarites coming out on top. In addition to his Germany, the other countries on that top board were Eddie Bresson in England, Bradley Grace as France, Ruben Sanchez in Russia, Austria by Jake Mannix, Dan Lester in Turkey, and Nicolas Sauge as the Italian. Kudos to organizer Spiros Dobos and tournament director Jamal Blakarli, as well as the rest of their team, for putting on an event which shall surely go down in hobby history as one of the greatest weekends ever in the world of diplomacy. Also, that same weekend of May 22nd through 24th saw the 40th annual Dixiecon held in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. More about that event later in the program. At the hobby meeting at World Dipcon, Melbourne in Australia was chosen as the host site for World Dipcon 2028, with Chicago, of course, hosting it in 2027. More about that Melbourne event as we get more information. In other face-to-face news, in early May, the UK's capital hosted its first diplomacy event in many years with the running of the London Open. Organized by a team including Conrad Woodring and Dan Lester, the event was won by prolific British player Bradley Grace, with fellow British players Graham Dent and Gunnar Bedson coming second and third, respectively. If you watched the coverage of the event on DBN, you know that Bradley sealed his victory with a good result in round 3 after a great result in round 1. He described his experiences in a recent article in the weekly newsletter Diplomacy Briefing, so if you've not read that article, you should. In other news, Darcy Morris has won the 2026 edition of the Hung Parliament Handicap event in Canberra in Australia with a spectacular result in the final round of that tournament. Connor Moorhead and Brandon Austin complete the leaderboard from that event. Game Day Live coverage was also released right here on DBN for your viewing pleasure. Now, how about upcoming face-to-face action? Oh, we've got plenty of that. Regenscon will host a diplomacy event in Bavaria, June 19th through 21st, hosted by DBN personality Robert Schuppel. Les Sarlainen will run the Paris Open at the end of June. The Sydney Cup is coming up July 4th and 5th under the leadership of Tristan Barrett, also in Australia, and the first ever Diplorat Mischief event is the following weekend in Brooklyn, New York. Check out all these opportunities for face-to-face tournament play using the links provided to the World Diplomacy reference and to the DBN schedule page. On the forum page for the site WebDiplomacy, longtime player and contributor Doug Joe posted recently that he completed his goal of playing 100 games per power against the site's AI gunboat bots for a total of 700 games. Statistically, his best results were with Turkey, soloing 66 of the 100 games he played, followed by Italy at 56 solos and France at 44. Interestingly, as Italy, he played the Lepanto opening all 100 times, as going after Turkey turned out to be the best percentage play for Italian gunboat success. Kind of works in regular diplomacy too. England finished only ahead of Austria in solo wins, 28-21, which seems fairly surprising, although his biggest comeback win was a two-center English power getting to 18, believe it or not, by using raider fleets behind the lines, which apparently the bots could not figure out how to contain. As Austria, not only did he achieve just the 21 wins, but he was eliminated 55 times, just to show how the modern meta favoring Austrian success in Classic Dip can be hard to replicate in Gunboat against a bunch of AI opponents. To read his full post, which includes a link to all the data he accumulated in his 700 games, you'll need to join the Web Diplomacy site and then navigate to the Diplomacy Strategy section of the forum. Let's talk now about the latest news from our various worldwide virtual diplomacy leagues. The Australia-based Snake Pit League, which has been going strong all season, completed its fourth round of games in early May. Jeff Wang is the current leader, followed closely by Thomas Orr in second place and Stephen Komar now in third. That league has its own dedicated Discord server, a link to which can be found below. The Tour of Britain is another league. It's run by Gary Sturley. It played its second round in late April, with round 3 scheduled for May 17th, so it will have been played by the time you see this broadcast. After that, the next round will be June 13th. The Tour of Britain is housed on the VWDC Discord server, a link to which is also below in the show notes. That VWDC Discord server is also the host of the true original, the Virtual Diplomacy League, with its next game day scheduled for June 27th, on which there will be games in 3 different time zones for the convenience of one and all. And then, of course, we have the Europe-based 7 Years War League, which runs virtual games regularly in a number of languages. On May 30th, for example, they will run games in Dutch, Scandinavian languages, and an English language one for cross-national play. If you would like to join in any of these leagues, use the Discord server links provided below. Each month here on Deadline, we like to highlight the latest and greatest video, audio, or visual content from those whom we call our DBN media partners. First up, the fine folks at the Diplostrats YouTube channel have announced their 2026 variant contest after the big response and great entries from last year. Participants have until the end of July to submit their original designs, which can include rule changes, map changes, or both. Participants can pool their talents to create new variants as a group, as long as each collaborator works on only one variant that's submitted. For more information, you can watch the video released by Diplostrats using the link that is listed in the show notes. And then our friends at Australia's Diplomacy Games podcast have released a new video in May after a months-long absence, with this one focused mainly on the World Dipcon in Greece. Spiros Novos was interviewed about the event by co-hosts Ken and Gavin. And there's also some discussion about the 2010 winner of the World Variant Design Contest, which of course was a variant about Greece itself. So check out this freshly released podcast using the link in the show notes. The 4th edition of the Olympus Press Tournament has reached its top board with coverage right here on DBN. The Diplomat Show has released its first episodes about this main event final, including one showing the Paris Method country assignment with player interviews, and then the next episode showing the results from 1901. Given that usual co-host Ed Sullivan, surprise of surprises, actually made the top board of Olympus himself, the commentary team for this event includes host Keith Worstel and superstar players Josh Ostrowski and Rob O'Brien. The lineup for this season's finals: Mordio as France, King Red in England, Ezio as Germany, Sullivan in Russia, Wang in Italy, Gordon in Austria, and Banana as the Turk. Yes, his name is Banana. In 1901 highlights, Ezio bounced Sullivan out of Sweden in the fall, while Italy invaded the Aegean in conjunction with the Trieste loan from Austria. Be sure to follow all of the diplomacy action as the game twists and turns by checking out the videos from the diplomats using the link below. Now, let's discuss the latest news from diplomacy's extensive use in the world of artificial intelligence research. A paper to be presented at this year's 40th AAAI Conference on Artificial Intelligence, which has been authored by researchers from Oracle, the University of Oxford, and various independent labs, focuses on analysis of the play of our game by various large language models, which are, of course, LLMs for short. The article is entitled Democratizing Diplomacy, a Harness for Evaluating Any Large Language Model on Full Press Diplomacy. The authors describe their process for evaluation of the play of diplomacy by 16 different contemporary large language models developed within the last 2 years, from well-known names like Anthropic, Meta, and OpenAI, in addition to other lesser-known names. Interestingly, the study analyzed how the different models performed against each other in aggressiveness, persuasion, and game performance, all designed to help measure the level of strategic reasoning achieved by each AI bot, or AI agent. Though the larger models performed well, even the smaller models actually held their own. To quote a portion of the results, quote, "The ability of even smaller models to complete diplomacy games suggests that strategic reasoning emerges as a natural consequence of large-scale language modeling, rather than requiring specialized training or architectural modifications," end quote. Check out the entire article using the link below. Now, we offer the latest in our series of segments we call My Favorite Things, where we talk to a hobby personality about a project that means a lot to them, whether or not related to diplomacy. This month, we speak to Justin Loar from Los Angeles about the recent release of the second edition of his very popular Diplomacy trading cards. Justin, so great to have you here on Deadline.
Thanks, David. Glad to be here. I always say this is the best monthly news show on DBN.
And I think you're correct in saying that, and I appreciate it. All right, for those who
I never miss an episode.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough call, but I think you've made the right call there. For those who do not know, tell us a little bit about where you live and what you do and how you got into the great game of diplomacy.
All right. Well, I live in Los Angeles, California, greatest city in the world, and my childhood home. Spent most of my life here. For work, I'm a video game designer. I've been doing that professionally for about 8 years. I make games for PC and console. I think it's most accurate to say that what I do is content design, which is pretty much about like what goes into the game and the actual content that you're playing. But more and more lately, it's been diving more into systems and progression. So how it feels to play the game for a long time and how you'll grow in that game. But getting into diplomacy, I was casually aware of the game for a few months, honestly, but until I discovered DBN. Watching DBN is really how I learned how to play at a higher skill level. And then getting to play in the online leagues like Virtual Diplomacy League and Tour of Britain, where everyone can play, was where I could practice what I learned with some mixed results, right? But what really appealed to me about the game was sort of twofold. It was, on the one hand, the game is content, but also what makes diplomacy kind of unique is the game sort of has a skill, right? If we think about games as content being that a game that you'll play, you'll enjoy it, and then you'll put it away. That's most games, and that could also be diplomacy. But then what really makes it special is that getting to try different things, experiment with different things, and focus on your growth from game to game in the way that we think about chess or poker or Magic the Gathering or something. And the idea that with practice, you could actually become one of the best in the world at something, right? Which isn't something a lot of hobbies offer. And of course, you're always developing storylines that dramatize the action while you play, right? Diplomacy is full of rises and falls, baby faces and heels. We're always sort of building the story of how we play, which is really just how we show up to the world under pressure, right? It's only really possible with a consistent community of players like what we have, we're lucky to have in the diplomacy community. So when I started, I looked up to star players like Nicholas Kamaridis and Brandon Fogel and Chris Brand, people who had cultivated skills for years that I really admired, like being able to find consensus among people who see the world very differently from you, but at the same time being an advocate for yourself. And when all that fails, knowing how to use the situation to your advantage and outwit your opponents, right? I want to be more like that, and so diplomacy was the game for me.
Justin, forgive me, but it almost sounds like you're talking about life skills. The things that
it is all the time.
Forgive me for that, insight about what you're saying.
It's a very deep game, David.
I could not agree more. All right, so you've been to a lot of face-to-face tournaments in the last few years, and people that watch DBN will know that. You've also run local club games. We're going to talk about your club after a while. You've participated heavily in virtual face-to-face, particularly recently. So you probably have a good background to answer this question. What do you think makes for great playing experiences?
It's a good question. I will
I know.
say that a lot of ink has been spilled about this topic. I don't know if I'll be able to cover it all, but it reminds me of the work of Nicole Lazzaro's Four Keys of Fun. And I think that every diplomacy game needs all of these, right? You got easy fun, which is like creativity. You'd say like painting is like easy fun, where you just try something new. It's very expressive with, like player expression through our moves in a game, or how we express ourselves to other players, or like role play, or like a sense of humor can be a kind of like easy fun that we find throughout diplomacy games. There's also, of course, hard fun, which is triumph over adversity. Oh, sorry, triumph over adversity. The glory of playing, the like intense focus of strategy. We have a term in game design called Fiero. It's the let's effing go kind of feeling. That's Fiero, and all of that sort of comes with the hard fun, the sort of like focused, dedicated, intense kind of play. Third key is people fun. So that's sort of like the amusement of just cooperating and competing with people, right? A lot of people who have played with me will remember me saying that I just like to be part of the conversation. That's the kind of like people fun. Make sure you got snacks at your games. Like that's the people fun. And then of course there's serious fun, right? Which is more like play above the game, something like doing something that matters in the game. Think about your self-improvement, how you're growing as a player, doing something memorable or significant, right? I feel like diplomacy at its best is when we're making history together, right? And that could be the history of a game, the history of a tournament, or the personal history between two or more players.
So one reaction I have to what you just said is awesome, but a second reaction would be the desire to make a mark on the game, to like the fact that I was there actually mattered, which
Right.
is something that we all as humans, I think, have a desire to want to do in our lives. So again, some concept that is from real life that is invading our diplomacy.
All the time. All the time.
Yeah.
For those who have eyes to see, David.
True. All right. What do you think our hobby could do better in terms of making sure that that sort of really great playing experience happens to anyone and everyone?
Well, I guess we can think about this from a couple different angles, right? I think as a player, you want to always be thinking about who wants to have, not just everyone wants to have fun when we play, but who wants to have what kind of fun in your game? And what's that going to look like for them, right? Can you give them that game? Because I think that if you do, you're going to get better results. And I think that goes especially for new players, right? Like we all have, we all share a responsibility to show them what we like about the game, and so that they can love it too, right? And sometimes even at the cost of our own results. Then we can also think like as a tournament director or an event manager of any kind, right? What kinds of fun do you want your event to cater to, right? Like we talk a lot about scoring system, right? And obviously that plays a whole lot into it. But also you can think about like your venue and your schedule. All of these are going to contribute to what kinds of fun people are going to be drawing from the event. We know how trophies can provide alternate incentives, right? Who's your event going to be catering to the most, and how do you balance that in a way that makes the event fun for more people, right? So for people new to tournaments, you can think about what makes your event approachable, right? And for tournament regulars, what's going to make your event special from other tournaments they might be going to. Because we know that making fun for people is always going to be more than just the games. It's everything that sort of happens around. It's the context for the games too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And the balancing all those things is why running an event is not as easy as people might think, because you are trying to satisfy the needs of very different people. So some people really care about your scoring system, and some people couldn't care less and don't even know that there is one and couldn't care less. It's an interesting dynamic, and it's an interesting set of things to balance when you're running an event.
Right. And it's always going to play out in the games themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, sometimes we cover games on DBN and we analysts are like, we can't figure out why this person did this or that person did that. And, you know, it may be because they are looking for a different type of experience, a different type of fun than we might be looking in exactly the same board state. And I always try to remember that when I'm analyzing games, but sometimes I forget that there could be another way to play the game than the way I would play that particular position.
Yeah.
What a great thing about this game.
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate all that philosophy. We're actually here mostly to talk about, or primarily to talk about, the release of your second edition Diplomacy trading cards. So let's talk. Let's go back and talk about the first step. Why did you start the project to begin with, the trading cards?
All right. Well, these are collectible trading cards that capture some of the most active diplomacy players from around the world. That's what we set out to do. Each player is going to get a personalized portrait by hobby darling Lady Razor, and then some links to some other information about how they played that year. And the goal here was just to celebrate, the many diverse and colorful personalities that make up our global hobby, right? Diplomacy, I think more than anything else, is a game about the people that we play it with, right? And the community is what makes the game what it is. So by the nature of the game, and I think I said this last year, I keep saying it because it keeps being true. Just by nature of playing the game, everyone is a micro celebrity, right? You walk onto a board, people have an idea of what to expect, and some people might look forward to some games more than others because of that, right? But the idea of the trading card was that it could give people a memento to look back on memorable games that you've played with some of your friends, looking forward to some people that you maybe haven't played with yet. They either live in a different region or they go to different tournaments than you, and gives you a reason to seek out those people in the future. The idea of giving players more ways to bond with each other, people they don't know, even like at tournaments, trading these cards. If you're missing a card that someone else has, you might not have any reason to talk with the person that weekend. You might not play a game together, but now you can share something over these cards, right? And then once we all leave our tournaments and go home, this gets to also be a conversation starter to share the joy of diplomacy with friends and family, and let people into a little bit of our world.
Yeah, I showed my wife the first edition card of me, and she laughed out loud. And so I think that was mission accomplished there. Well, speaking of the first edition, as I recall, they were released at last year's World Dipcon. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And I remember, watching all the people sort of running around with them and trying to see which ones they could get. It was really a lot of fun. What do you have in store for us in this second edition?
All right. Well, last year we had a set of 80 cards, and this year we set out to have as many more as we could get. So we got to 81. We got 81 cards plus 3 special cards for the WDC organizers to make a complete set of 84. Those 3 cards are only ever going to be available at this year's WDC in Greece. And these cards will all come in packs of 7. So in just one pack, you have a full board, right? And I figured special DBN deadline exclusive, David, I thought we might be able to open a pack together. How's that sound?
Oh, that sounds like a great idea.
Okay, so first of all, we can look at the new layout, right? I went with a blue and white theme in honor of WDC Greece. And we're going to open a pack of cards. Let's see who we get. First up is going to be the Aurora Adam card. And we can start breaking down. These cards look a little bit different from how they did last year. I moved away from the more complex stats and the tournament ranks. It's just kind of hard to explain, and it was kind of hard to capture a person's unique style just from the numbers. So I replaced that with focusing more on their DBNI score, which you can find here at the very top. That'll have the total number of DBNI points for the 2025 to 2026 season. And then all the information about tournaments that they attended and how they performed at those tournaments, all those are available on World Diplomacy reference already. So these QR codes will take you directly to that person's page. If you're watching this on TV, you can pull up your phone right now, and this is a fully functioning QR code, and it'll take you right to Aurora's WDR page. So handy there, and thanks to all those folks for maintaining that database. I also included everyone's favorite country, self-reported, and where they're playing from in the world, right? What I was really excited to include this time, and thanks to your suggestion, David, was making these actual fully functioning playing cards. So you'll see here that Aurora is the 4 of hearts, and with the number of cards that we have, we're able to have a complete deck of 52 cards, plus an additional alternate suits of armies and fleets, right, to fill in any gaps you might have. So you don't need a complete set to have a fully functioning deck. If let's say you're missing all of your diamonds, but you have all of the fleets, you can just sub those out. right? So you'll have more full decks going along is what I'm hoping for. I can give you a couple more examples of these. Here's the Robert Schupa card. When Late Razor sent me all of these, they're all labeled, but the label for this one is cut off. And it's like, I don't know who this is, but you sure made him look evil, didn't you? So that's Robert. We got Darcy here. Darcy, I know how much you care at DBNI points, so you got the big number. And for anyone else who wins a tournament, right? We also got a little trophy up here to sort of symbolize that. Some folks won more than one. We can keep going. Who else we got? We got Alex Batten, known for being delightful in the Batman, the Bat 10. Made sure the 10 of armies. So definitely a card to look out for. Who else we got? We got Riaz Varani, the Queen of Fleets. He knows what he did. If you see any players that have an asterisk by their DBNI, that just means that they were disqualified from participating in the DBNI tournament at the end because they didn't play an online game. So they were ineligible. I put a little asterisk to designate that. You're less likely to run into these people online is basically what that means. This is a very special card. David, we got the shiny Nicola Taille card.
Wow.
The Ace of Spades, DBNI winner, Calamar Cup winner, Nicola Taille, which is here to remind me that the first edition of all these cards, people from last year now, the first edition of all these cards is getting hand foiled by me as the shiny, special, one-of-a-kind card. Only one of these will ever be printed and be in distribution somewhere. So I'm sure a lot of these will end up at WDC. Some of them might just be in the wind because I'm going to be mailing some cards out to some folks who asked me to. So if you get this shiny card in any of your packs, know it's the only one in the world, and it's therefore worth a lot more.
Wow.
And then, of course, so that brings us to 6 cards. I believe we have one more. And we know the diplomacy hobby has more than a few jokers, right? An astronaut is one of the biggest jokers in the scene. I think we can all agree. So you got the red Joker. All the WDC hosts are also Joker cards. Theirs are a little more special and off to the side. If this is coming out after WDC, I think you said, David, then those will probably be circulating around online. So you'll see what those look like then. But yeah, so that would be a full pack of 7 cards. Each card's a rarity, and some are rarer than others.
Well, that is very cool, and I'm also pleased that we were able to show those cards or sort of debut those cards right here on Deadline. That was awesome. I am sure that everybody's going to think that this is fun to have the connection or the link to World Diplomacy Reference. There's so much information on there. I'm also waiting to see, and I bet I won't have to wait too long to see people playing poker with these cards, having a full 52 deck and playing poker with the Ace of Fleets, and the Ace of Armies. This is just going to be a lot of fun in diplomacy tournaments, putting aside the trading aspect, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to all that as well. Right. I mean, playing a game of poker with Ed Sullivan with the Ed Sullivan card will be pretty special.
Yeah, that's almost too meta. It's almost overwhelming me to think about. All right. Well, by the time folks see this, it is true. World Dipcon will have already happened. Dixiecon will have already happened. That weekend will have already happened. So the cards will already be out. So what if someone didn't get any cards? What are they supposed to do?
Right. So I'm debuting these cards at World Dipcon. I believe I printed out, or it's in the print shop as we speak. I think I asked for in the ballpark of like 5,000 cards total. So most of those will be going to me at Dipcon. Because I know that Dixiecon is scheduled for the very same weekend, I want anyone there to feel like they missed out on the fun. So, David, I'm sending you a limited run for distribution at Dixie of a handful of these sets of cards to share with all the good folks there.
Cool.
And afterwards, I encourage that anyone who gets some trading cards at either WDC or Dixie, take it home with you, bring it to your next tournament, and trade with some folks there. I'm sure folks would like to spread the wealth in that way. At WDC and Dixie, we're offering a pay-what-you-want model, offering a minimum of $4 per pack of 7. Make sure everyone can take home some cards. The funds are all going to either recouping the cost of this project, putting a little bit towards next year's set, and the rest will be going towards the Angel Fund to make the game even more accessible for folks to join us at these tournaments.
Just for those that may not know, Diplomacy Angel Fund helps fund trips to tournaments for hobbyists that need that help. They just need to reach out and ask for it, and that's what the fund and the fund donors are for. So we really will appreciate that influx of money from the cards. All right, anything else you need to tell me about this cool product that is now in its second edition?
Yes. So we already talked about some games you can play with these decks. Any game that uses a 52 card deck is eligible to play with these cards, right? So that's poker, blackjack, go fish, anything you want. Last year, I also recommended a game that was kind of inspired by Super Fight, where you could just draw 7 cards at random, lay them down in different powers, seed a board that way, and then argue with whoever you're playing about who would win, right? And maybe if if a player is seeded into a particular country that they've listed as their favorite, maybe that gives the player a boost. I don't know. But I did come up with a new game, completely new game, first time seen on DBN, that we can play with these games as well. So this is, I'm calling Board of Death. It's a bit similar to Gin Rummy, if you played that. It was my mom's favorite card game. But the idea is you deal out to however many players. You can play with as tall of a deck as you want. Deal out hands of 7. You'll have a discard pile, and the rest of the deck is face down. And the way you'll play is that players go clockwise and either draw from the deck into their hand or draw from the top card of the discard pile into their hand, and they have to discard a card. So you always have a hand of 7. And then players will lock in their hand once they feel like they have a Board of Death, the most competitive board possible of all of the cards in the deck. And then the game is called when all players lock in or when the deck runs out. All players reveal their hands, and then you can judge them either based on popular vote, like who do you think has the worst Board of Death that you wouldn't want to be on. Or if you're boring, you could just calculate all the DBNI point totals and get an objective whatever victory that way.
Or it could just be whoever has Craig Meyer in their hand because he's the Doctor of Death. That's true. That's true. Well, anyone who has the Craig Meyer card should automatically lose. I mean, that's the way I see it anyway.
Just like in real life.
Just like in real life. That could not be more right either. All right. So we've already talked about this. I'm going to pivot just a minute away from the cards, which are awesome, as everybody knows, and they're just getting awesomer the more editions you put out. But let's pivot back to World Dipcon for a minute, because as we record this, you will be heading soon to Greece for World Dipcon. It won't come out till afterwards, but how excited are you right now getting ready to go to this one of, I would say just sort of one of a time kind of event in near Athens?
Yeah, I couldn't be more excited, right? I mean, it's a beautiful part of the world. It's a beautiful time of year. It's perfect time for staying inside and playing board games, right? I'm sure Spiros and the rest of the WDC crew are putting together an amazing time for everyone. A lot of people don't know this, but Spiros was actually one of my earliest friends in the diplomacy community, and probably the first person to open my eyes to the potential of what the diplomacy community can be, right? We met when we were both coming off some pretty big losses in VDL when we first started playing competitively. And ever since then, we've encouraged each other to believe in ourselves and stick with it through the pain. He's a lot of the reason why I'm still playing, and I couldn't be happier to support him when he's hosting what's going to be a historic World Dipcon.
No question about it. What are you hoping to get out of that experience?
Well, I'm buying a bigger bag, right? I'm hoping for 4 trophies, but if it's 2 or 3, I'll live with that. Otherwise, I'm just looking to have a great time and a great vacation. I've been saying for a long time, the diplomacy community is just like a thinly veiled travel group, and we use the board game as kind of an excuse to get together in whatever town, throughout the year. So, just getting to hang out and play with everyone is really its own reward.
Yeah, that
but
really
the trophies
is.
will be nice too.
Trophies would be fun.
I will accept some trophies.
Yeah, I thought you might. You're not going to turn them down. But I understand. As we say in the hobby, we come for the game, but we stay for the people.
Right.
And that is absolutely right. Well, let's talk for a second about another aspect of your hobby activity, which is the Diplomacy Club, the Legionnaires, in Los Angeles. You've been instrumental in working that club up. How are things going, and what have you learned in the process of organizing and promoting that club?
It's going really well. I'd say we're on upswing right now. We can average about one board a month, which is fantastic. Been doing a lot of recruitment drives I went to a local strategy game convention, which was awesome. Been to UCLA, some other board game events, just promoting our club and the game in general. So we found our small group of regulars, and then we have a larger cast appeal that'll sort of drop in and drop out when they can. What I've learned, I think, comes down to a couple main values. The first of which has to be go big. Players like seeing a decked out set. Getting a custom board together, I put a lot of work into getting my custom board really, big sort of ordeal, and that will attract a crowd, right? So we've always got at least 2 or 3 people that approach us, wherever we're playing, be like, "What's this? I want to know more," which has been really huge about growing the club. Custom teaching guides, reference materials, anything to make the game more accessible for new players, as much as you possibly can do. To sort of set the stage for a really great game. Players get to see that, they're going to respond to it, they're going to show up as well, right? And if you're starting a local club or you're building a local club, I have a lot of materials to share. So get in contact with me, get in contact with the NADF, and we'll hook you up with some of these materials so you don't have to do everything on your own, right? But the other value's got to be consistency, right? And consistency makes it better for everyone, easier for everyone. If you pick a venue you like, find one you really like, stick with it. Then people know that every month or however often you're playing, it'll always be at the same place, same time. That kind of thing makes it a lot easier for people to schedule. Putting together a go bag for your board, your materials, and stick with that, right? So I know that I always have a full set. I don't need to worry about refilling stuff regularly. I don't need to dismantle everything and put it back together. It's like, nope, I just know that's my bag. When I go off to the game, I don't need to think about it. I just pick up the bag, it's got everything I need in it. And if you do all the hard work up front and you just show up a little bit every month, that's really all you need to set up a local group. Having your setup ready and then just deploying it as often as people are ready to play, right? So if you live in Los Angeles, contact me and come play a game with us. We always make room for fresh faces, prioritize getting new players on the board. And if you don't live in Los Angeles, you definitely know somebody who does. So send them this video, get them in touch with us. We'd love to have everybody.
Well, thank you for those words of wisdom for all those out there, not just who might be coming to join you, but may want to deal with the club in their own local community. That's really good information for them. Thanks for being on the show, and thanks for all you do in your hobby activities, Justin. And final point I want to say is good luck, or maybe break a leg, at the WDC.
Thank you, David. Appreciate
Any
it.
final thoughts for our audience?
Nope. Yeah, well, I want to thank everyone who participated in the train card project this year, right? This project couldn't be what it is without all the vibrant personalities that you guys bring to every game. So some special thanks for sure. I've got to go to Lady Razor for all of his amazing artwork and dedication to the project throughout both years. John Marco, Lay, Shane Armstrong, everyone who works hard to maintain the World Diplomacy reference made my job a lot easier this year. And fielding some of my panicked messages at the very last minute. And I want to thank you, David, for all the work you do maintaining the Angel Fund that brings so many amazing people to our tournaments from every corner of the world. And last, I'll also say just thanks to everyone who continues to make the diplomacy community this wonderful place where we can all celebrate each other's accomplishments and continue to grow together.
Good words, Justin. Thanks for being on the show. And again, thanks for all your hard work on this project.
Thank you, David.
And I'm looking forward to seeing how you do in Greece.
Me too.
And now, as a part of our series of segments called Where to Play, let's celebrate 40 years of the Dixiecon diplomacy event in Chapel Hill by enjoying memories of Dixiecon's past as recorded at this year's event in 2026. Hello there, in what we old timers used to call Dipdom. I wanted to maybe let you give me a point of personal privilege here to commemorate the 40 years of my own tournament, Dixiecon, by showing you a few video memories as recorded in Chapel Hill recently. Keith Worstel of Burlington, North Carolina, who many of you know from his leadership of the Nexus community and as the host of the current episodes of the Diplomats right here on DBN, He won this year's event with Raleigh player Randy Lawrence Hurt, again taking second, just like he did last year, and multiple Dixiecon winner David Miller placing third. The Ironman tournament, which is what we do in Dixiecon for all the non-diplomacy gaming of the weekend, was conquered once again by Texas hobbyist Bruce Dewar, who, by the way, was once a mainstay of the diplomacy variant community back in the 1990s and the 2000s. So he has a diplomacy pedigree himself. For our first memory video here, let's talk to our winner, Keith Worstel, recorded before he found out that he was the winner. Well, hello, Keith Worstel. We're giving our little Dixiecon at 40 memories here. So first, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you are, and your connection to Dixiecon.
My name is Keith Worstel, and I was mainly a press player until I found Dixiecon. It is my local tournament, about 30 minutes away from my house. So my first Dixiecon was 6 years, or 2022. So this is my sixth one.
Your fifth one.
Fifth one.
Math is hard.
Math is hard. Yeah, math degree, but yeah. It was rough. Dixiecon scoring eliminates people pretty quickly, especially if you don't have a reputation. But the community is amazing. The open gaming is amazing, and it makes you want to come back and play. And the unusual alliance structure is great. So I think once you're part of the community and you start learning, the games become much more fun. And I think last year I've had some pretty good games that I've had, but I think this year's been my favorite so far. I got to do some unusual openings and aggressive openings that I've never been able to do before, and I have rapport with a lot of people.
So what would your favorite sort of individual Dixiecon memory be at this point?
My favorite individual Dixiecon memory, I think last year the local club picked up a ton of awards, and I felt really proud that we had been training all year and that we did really well as a group. So,
And you're talking about the cardiac.
the cardiac, yeah.
Which is Carolina, what does that stand for?
Competitive Association for Regular Diplomacy in and around the Carolinas.
Okay, cardiac.
Because we have Virginia people too, so just being inclusive.
All right, well, inclusivity, why not? It's the buzzword of the day. All right, Keith, any final thoughts about Dixiecon for anybody maybe watching this?
It's the best tournament, even with Worlds going on. We still have 4 boards, which is better than most tournaments can do. So if you want a good tournament, this is the one to come to.
All right, man, thanks. So those were the thoughts of Keith Worstel before he found out he was the Dixiecon winner for 2026. Now let's look at the video from our second place finisher, Randy Lawrence Hurt, who also lives in the same triangle area of North Carolina. Randy Lawrence Hurt, thanks for being on Dixie at 40 Memories. Where do you live and what's your connection to Dixiecon other than providing this shirt for the visual effect, which is this like the second year in a row we've had to deal with this. But anyway,
Third, I think. This is the Ed Sullivan special shirt.
Oh, that's right. Ed loves this shirt. All right, Randy.
I am from Raleigh, North Carolina. My connection to Dixie, I've been coming here on and off for a decade or so, and since I've moved to Raleigh every year for like 5 years, I think.
True enough. All right, what is your favorite Dixiecon memory?
So, maybe it's not a favorite memory, but it's certainly the strongest memory. I don't think anyone could discuss memories of Dixiecon. I couldn't without remembering last year's Dixiecon, where David Miller and I raced for the top over all 3 rounds, had solos. I missed out by a couple of points. It stung at first, but since then it's been a lot of fun to reminisce about. I learned a lot of things from it, and I can't think of a tournament other than Dixie where I could have an experience like that and still want to come back and have fun, which I think tells you a lot about the people here and what a great tournament it is.
If somebody has not been to Dixiecon, but they've been to other diplomacy tournaments, what do you think is different about this one?
It's very convivial. You're always playing other games. People are always playing other games. So while diplomacy is a focus, it's not the only focus. You always feel like there's something else to do. People go out. There's the barbecue. So it's just a relaxed atmosphere. It's not just sitting in a basement playing a stressful game. It's sitting in the basement playing other games as well.
All right, Randy. Thanks for being on the video program here.
Thanks for having me.
One thing I forgot to mention, forget about Randy. We've seen this often for Randy. Let's go back to Keith for a minute. I forgot to mention that this year, he also won the award that we at Dixiecon call the Brick. The brick is literally a brick from somewhere on the UNC campus that's been procured by a secret agent. And the brick is given to like the most boneheaded thing that one has done over the weekend, or sort of brickish thing that one has done is what we call it. Keith Worstel won the tournament and won the brick. Now, how did he do that? Because at 17 centers, he orders, I think it was Fleet Mid-Atlantic to Spain. Okay, Spain has 2 coasts, man. You got to designate. So he could have taken his 18th center right then, but instead they had to play another year for his solo. But of course, during the other year, he also took 3 centers, so he ended up at 20. So I'm not sure if it was completely brickish, but he did win that award. All right, let's complete the set with a video of our 3rd place finisher, which he's not used to, David Miller.
David Miller,
How's it going?
tell us a little bit about your connection to Dixiecon, if you would, and where you live.
Sure. I'm from the Maryland, DC, Baltimore area, and my connection is this was my very first tournament. I met some crazy guys named Chris Martin and Peter Jurgen. They roped me into playing some diplomacy at Peter's house after a few years, and then took me to a tournament and proceeded to both solo on me in the same tournament in consecutive rounds. And so it's a miracle I came back, really.
It actually is kind of a miracle, but you have come back to the point of winning 3 times, as I recall. The math.
That's true.
All right, David Miller, tell us your favorite Dixiecon memory.
It's really hard to pick one because I have an absolutely fantastic time every time I come here. But for me, it's got to be 2018 when I won Dixiecon for the first time. I came here, I got soloed on twice. Then I did a little better in the next year, and I finally won the tournament a few years later. And the best part about the community is I just got 50 congratulations from everybody. There's no hard feelings. Everyone's happy for everybody else. And it really made me appreciate this community a lot.
All right, and let me also say finally that you started the BlazeCon tournament,
Yes.
which is in Baltimore, started it last year, and we'll be running it again this January. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yep. BlazeCon is named after my wife and I's late dog, Blaze. So that's our theme, is a little dog theme. It's in Harbor East, Baltimore on Martin Luther King Day weekend, which is, I think it'll be the 15th through 17th of 2027. We're putting in a bid for Dipcon this year. So come, we got lots of space, 2 rooms. It's pretty cheap to get to Baltimore. The rooms are pretty cheap. I think they'll be about $120 a night with the room block. So reach out to me. Happy to give you information and help you get registered for 2027.
All right, thanks, David Miller.
So our 3-time winner, David Miller. Let's switch gears just a little bit now and talk to the GM of this year's Ironman event. That's, again, the non-diplomacy gaming event. The GM this year was Alex Ronka, who's another player local to the Triangle area of North Carolina. He has played a leading role himself in the diplomacy variant community for many years. Let's talk to Alex Ronka about his Dixiecon experiences.
All right, hey there, man.
Hey.
Tell us who you are and what your connection is to Dixiecon.
Yeah, so I'm Alex Ronka, and I live local in Cary, near here. And I've been coming to Dixiecon since 2016. Only missed the virtual ones, if I remember correctly. It's been a great annual event for me to get here too, and I love playing the other board games and occasionally getting some diplomacy in as well. But yeah, it's something I look forward to every year.
I should ask what your connection to the diplomacy hobby is, because you have a fairly long connection to the diplomacy hobby. Tell us what that is.
So those of you who may have encountered me online, I'm no pun intended online, and I do a lot of variant design. So I've run a couple variant tournaments, all done kind of asynchronously over the course of a year. I run a lot of variant maps. I've trained others to do GMing of variant maps, and kind of taught myself a lot of the graphic design necessary to do some of the map design, which has been a lot of fun, and I've met a lot of people doing that, so it's been pretty great.
And you had a connection to play diplomacy at one time.
Yeah, for a little while I was an admin there, and I was pretty active there for a while. We actually, some of the maps that I now do on Discord, I was running via their play-by forum setup. And so play-by forum games, which were really popular for a long time. I haven't been back. I don't know if their forums are even back yet. But,
they're not.
Not. But back when the forums were still running, we had a good solid group of a lot of people, a lot of different GMs running different games, and it was pretty great.
All right, tell us your favorite Dixiecon memory.
Oh, I really loved, so a couple different things. So I loved when we actually hosted it at the AC Hotel. Granville's a great space, so don't get me wrong, but it was kind of nice actually having it at the nice hotel. I actually got to win Iron Man that year. This was the only time winning anything, which was great. And also, I've also really enjoyed the fact that I've been given space to kind of try out new variants here. So I brought like boards that I've made, and we might not get through an entire game, but we've gotten to try out a couple different variants to sort of see how they work in person, and it's been a lot of fun.
And your role has changed with Dixiecon this year, so tell us a little bit about that.
So Michael, who usually runs the Iron Man tournament, is kind of passing on that role to me, so that he can spend more time helping with adjudicating diplomacy games and doing other stuff. And so, a lot of it is data entry. It's taking all the little slips of paper that people write the Iron Man games down on and kind of assembling them to a central spot so that you know what the actual kind of final tally is. But I'm enjoying it. It's been fun.
Well, Alex, thank you for doing that, and thank you for giving us your favorite Dixiecon memory.
Yeah.
All right, folks, let's stay in the category of the Ironman tournament, and I'm going to show you a video from one of our more prolific Ironman gamers, who also happens to be a fellow lawyer from Hickory, North Carolina, like I am. So, Bill Morgan.
Well, hey there, Bill Morgan.
Hey.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, your connection to Dixiecon.
Awesome. So I'm Bill Morgan. I'm from Hickory, North Carolina, just like this guy, and this is the guy that got me involved with this. And I am not a diplomacy player.
No, you're not.
I am not that I'm a diplomacy player, but I'm not good. I literally don't play. So.
Because he wouldn't be good if he did. No, keep
that
going.
is true. No,
keep
anyway.
Going.
So I'm here for the Ironman stuff, just open gaming and playing all sorts of easy to difficult games throughout the weekend. It's a lot of fun.
All right, Bill, tell us your favorite Dixiecon memory.
I think my favorite Dixiecon memory is probably a summation of a bunch of them, which is getting here in the morning and seeing everybody here and making friends that you see the next year, and you have a place to go, a person to say, yeah, I remember that person, I'm going to play games with that. So it's kind of an overall feeling of everybody being here to have fun. And for some people win, but not me.
Well, there's always this year.
There's always
Wait,
this year.
Never mind. I've watched you play this weekend.
Right.
There's always next year.
Always next year.
All right, Bill, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was my friend Bill Morgan. All right, how about another Ironman gamer? This is Mark Franceschini, who lives in Maryland, who, by the way, has a long diplomacy history. He dominated diplomacy boards at Dixiecon back in the day. He won one back in the 90s. He'll explain that in his video. And you may know his two nephews, or at least one of them, because he got them both into the hobby, Graham Woodring and Conrad Woodring. Yes, Mark Franceschini is responsible for that. So here we go.
Well, hey there, man. How you doing?
Good. How are you, David?
Thanks for being here on the Dixie at 40 Memory Lane tour that we got going on. Tell us who you are, where you live, and what your connection to Dixiecon is.
Right. I am Mark Franceschini. I live in Maryland. My connection to Dixiecon is in the late 80s, early 90s. I was going to any tournament I could find on the East Coast, and friends told me this was the place to be. It's the only one I still go to.
And of course, your friends were right about everything, including
Obviously.
that.
Obviously.
Yeah. And you won the tournament back in the early 90s at some point.
I believe it was 92. Probably my favorite game, probably my best game ever played. Bob O'Dear and I from spring of 01 decided to create a two-way alliance, and we actually held it legitimately without trying to finagle things inappropriately all the way to a 17-17 two-way. The best part of that is it allowed me to win the tournament over Tom Coburn, who had a solo that year.
So anything is good as long as Coburn loses.
Exactly.
Is what I'm hearing. All right, Mark, we're here to ask this important question. What is your favorite Dixiecon memory?
My favorite Dixiecon memory involves a not so auspicious game. I sat down to a game about the same time period, got pulled in to play Italy. Todd Craig was playing Austria, who I'd only met a couple times before that. And there apparently weren't enough people to fill the board. So in Russia and Turkey, and I don't remember which was which, but David McCrum, a name from the past,
Oh, yes.
and David Hood.
Also a name from the past. Distant past. Hobby's distant past. Keep going.
Exactly. So Todd and I are worried about an RT right from the beginning. And Todd, as Austria, comes to me and says, "You want to try something new, a new opening that I just read about called the Key Opening." And I said, "Well, if you're going to invite my two armies into your country to start the game, sure, I'll give it a shot." So we figured that if we really sold it, that we would keep you two from getting a chance to form a strong RT, and we could knock one of you out early. So lo and behold, the smoke clears at the end of Fall 01. We have pulled off a perfect key, only to see David McCrum and David Hood do a SevCon shuffle. At which point the four of us look at each other and say, "So now what do we do?" We spent about a year making sure that everybody knew what they were doing tactically and weren't going to make any mistakes. And then we all happened to look over and see that Germany was getting crushed in the West. And if the four of us didn't figure something out fast, this game was going to end in a two-way from EF. We took as much time as we could. We dragged it out as long as we could. The game ended in a very inauspicious six-way, with Germany being the only one knocked out, with us calling the draw at the earliest possible time we were allowed.
But the real win was we got to do a SevCon shuffle and a key opening in the
same
year.
game. Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that was fantastic.
All right.
And if I could say one last thing, I am happy to say that if nothing else is ever learned from me at Dixiecon, it is that Escape from Colditz is now a Sunday night staple for the game.
Which we are keeping you from right now by recording this video, the game Escape from Colditz on the Sunday night open gaming schedule.
Exactly.
All right, Mark. Thank you so much for your memories, and thank you for coming to Dixiecon all these years.
Thanks for having us all down here. You got it.
So there is evidence that the 1717 is not a recent scourge. For those of you that don't like them, I love them, but for those of you who don't like them, he was doing 1770s back like 30 years ago. So there is nothing new under the sun. All right, let's go true old school, as if Franceschini wasn't old school enough, and talk to a number of players with Dixiecon pedigrees, which all go back decades. First, we're going to have longtime organizer and diplomatic pouch publisher Manus Hand from Colorado give us some Dixiecon memory.
Hey, David and team, it's Manus. Congratulations on your 40th. Unbelievable. And I just wanted to say that Dixiecon is what inspired me to create the group in Denver. So every success we've ever had in Denver, every tournament we've ever run, owes itself to you and everything you've done out here. I've had great fun at Dixiecon over the years. This one here, the 40th, is the first time when I'm bringing a new generation in. My grandson Liam's here with me, and he's enjoying himself big time, meeting everybody and having fun at the table. So once again, thanks for everything you do, and congratulations on 40 great years.
You know, I kind of always knew I was responsible for everything that's ever happened in Denver, in the Denver hobby. I did not know that until he mentioned that. But anyway, it was great to have Manus here. It's great to have Liam here, who I think won the Player's Choice Award this year. All right. Let's do the next video. If you've watched DBN coverage from past Dixiecons, you will know our next guest, who is someone who's been coming to Dixiecon longer now than I think anyone else who's currently coming to Dixiecon. So he's like the OG Dixiecon attendee, and this would be local player Todd Craig.
Hey, Todd Craig, you are at Dixiecon 40. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your history with Dixiecon.
My name is Todd Craig. I live in Pittsburgh, North Carolina, about 15 minutes south of Chapel Hill. I met David Hood around 1986, 87, somewhere around in there. And we were looking for D&D players, and he said, "Hey, why don't you try out this board game?" And next thing I knew, I was going to Dixiecon. So this is like 38 years of playing the game. David introduced me, and I've been having a blast.
And we've been having a blast watching you play, Todd Craig, for 38 years. All right, give us your best Dixiecon, or your favorite, Dixiecon memory.
I would have to say my favorite Dixiecon memory is last year my son Jack when he won his first Best Germany for the first time. I was so proud and happy, and it really is like the thing I'm going to carry around with me forever for this tournament.
I'm so glad I was able to provide that for you with a little bit of help from Jack himself.
Yes, he actually, he did all the hard work, but it really was like my proudest moment of like being a father. Well, it was great.
Proudest moment of being a father in the gaming context,
Yes.
I think is what you mean. Todd Craig, thanks for your Dixiecon memory, and by God, we want to see you here another 30 years.
I will do my best. Thank you.
All right, sorry about the audio there. That was when I discovered my microphone had in fact gone out of commission. So I apologize for that, and I didn't realize it till later. But that's Todd Craig, ladies and gentlemen, truly a one and only original. All right, Tim Richardson from Virginia. He's been attending Dixiecon every time it's been a live event, I think, or he may have missed a few, but not many, starting with the World Dipcon that he attended in Chapel Hill in 1998. So let's watch the Tim Richardson interview.
Hey, Tim Richardson.
David.
Thanks for being on Dixie at 40 Video Memory Lane here. Tell us where you live and your connection to Dixiecon.
So I am in the southern part of Northern Virginia. This is my 28th Dixiecon. I have never missed this con. I am the perennial brick winner.
Wow.
And my first tournament was 1998, which was Worlds. And my first board assignment was Turkey. And Eddie Brisson was Italy. And I was so intimidated because all I had read in the rule books was about David Hood, who had hosted the region, and Eddie, who had invented the Kilo Ponto, that I was just a mess. I completely screwed up all of the orders. And then he was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I had no idea." So I was quickly eliminated as Turkey. But later on in that tournament, we were able to stop Rick Desper from soloing. We blocked him as a 16 center Austria. So it was a successful tournament, and I won't miss any more Dixiecons ever.
Well, I certainly hope not, or we will revoke your Dixiecon card.
Yeah, I won't have any more bricks.
You won't get the benefits. You won't get all the benefits of the Dixiecon card if you get revoked. All right, Tim, thanks for being such an integral part of the Dixiecon experience for so long.
Absolutely, David. Thanks for putting it on.
You got it.
Eddie Brisson intimidating players decades ago. That was probably decades ago, right? No. The same weekend we were running Dixiecon, Eddie Brisson was at Greece for the World Diplomacy Championship and made the top board. So the guy will just never, ever stop intimidating players like Tim. All right, finally, this is our last video here in the segment. This is my honorary Italian-American cousin, because I think everybody should have such a person in their lives. And so my honorary Italian cousin is this guy, the one and only Andy Bartoloni, who is affectionately known in the hobby as Buffalo.
Buffalo, you are here for Dixiecon Memories, Dixie at 40 Memories. First of all, tell our audience who you are, where you are, and your connection to Dixiecon, because you have a connection.
Yes. Well, first, my name is Andy Bartoloni. I live in Baltimore. I've been coming to Dixiecon since 2002, something like that. David's my cousin.
Adopted.
Well, maybe blood. Who knows? My mother's family lives all over North Carolina and Tennessee.
All right.
But the things I like most about Dixiecon are not like the fellowship, people. The hobby is about people, and we get together here and we enjoy ourselves, whether it's on a diplomacy board or playing other games or simply going out and get a cup of coffee or a drink. And some of my oldest friends and best friends I've met over a diplomacy board, and we've had great times here. For those of you out there who have been to Dixiecon and were around in 2017, it's the only time I've ever won Dixiecon.
Is that your best Dixiecon memory, man?
It is. It's my favorite memory. And it came out of the words past the lips of Brian Ecton, who's currently at Worlds, and he will attest to this. You had one job, and one job only. And If you want context, find Brian. He'll give you context. He might scream it, but he'll give you context. I love North Carolina. I mean, the rooms here used to be nicer when we had a tennis court and a basketball court, a swimming pool, and more people. But no, I love this. Chapel is a lovely town. It's a great place. David runs an amazing tournament. All of the people who support him are great. I have some of my best diplomacy memories and some of my best people memories here in Chapel Hill or at other tournaments with the people I met here in Chapel Hill.
And one of my best Dixiecon memories was on that basketball court. Andy Bartolotti being in the front court, the fulcrum of the front court of his team, and me and Doc Bender being the back court for our team. So we've got some great memories of basketball in days gone on the by. Buffalo, thanks for all you do for Dixiecon. You're part of the Dixiecon milieu, to be honest. Dixiecon without Andy is not really Dixiecon. So we're glad you're here, and thanks for being one of the participants in Dixie at 40 members.
David, thank you for everything you do for the hobby in general and for Dixiecon specifically. It's just a great time. Thank you.
All right, folks, let me end all of this by echoing something that Andy was, I think, trying to communicate. I did not do this segment just for nostalgia, although I certainly have nostalgia for an event that I started when I was a 21-year-old college student. I mean, who couldn't? But instead, my point in doing this segment was these are the kinds of friends and the types of memories that I want you all to get out of your diplomacy hobby experiences. As much as you may love the game, and I still love the game myself, even after all these years, the most important thing you can achieve over your years of hobby involvement would be the connection to your fellow players and organizers. Nurture those relationships, cherish those memories, because in the end, that will make your time that you spend in this hobby all the more worthwhile. So with that, I'll send it back to myself in the studio. Thanks to all of you watching at home. We hope you have enjoyed this edition of Deadline. If you have news, ideas for features, or feedback of any kind, please feel free to send an email to info@diplobn.com, or you can drop me a line directly using davidhood@dixiecon.com. To review all of our broadcast offerings, visit our website, www.diplobn.com. This is David Hood, signing off. I wish you brightness and bliss and, of course, Belgium.